I'd like to start off with a question. Is it possible to provide similar experiences for our users using either the full Horizon client or HTML access? And the answer is absolutely yes. Let's begin. I'd like you to imagine that one of our users, Bob, has shown up for work one day and lo and behold, his computer, he turns it on and there's smoke pouring out of it. The computer is no longer working. So we give him another computer that he can use. This one's gone. Bob walks up to this computer, logs on, and then realizes that this computer doesn't have the full-blown Horizon client installed on it. So what are Bob's options? Well, one of them is to connect to the connection server, to the IP address or the URL of the connection server, and you can download and install the Horizon client. Or if Bob doesn't have the rights to install the software on his computer that he's using, he could also choose the option for HTML, as long as his computer supports HTML version 5. And then, if any of the pools, for example, let's say we have a pool called linked clones. If this pool in this configuration has a little checkbox checked that says allow HTML, Bob can then use HTML for the connection to a resource in that pool. So the HTML client has built in it the support for PC over IP. And that's it. So we simply enable HTML on the pool, browse to the connection server, click on the link to use HTML. It's going to ask us to authenticate, and then party on, Wayne. Go ahead and access those resources in the pool. So first things first, we want to make sure that we have HTML enabled on at least one of our pools that Bob has been entitled to use. So let's take a look under our catalog. We'll open up our desktop pools. We can simply double click on this new linked clone pool, and that will show us the details for that pool. And over here on the right hand side under pool settings, if we scroll down a little bit, here it shows us that regarding HTML access, we have enabled HTML access for this pool. So that's a great first start. Our next stop then is Bob's local computer. So here at Bob's local computer, here's the shortcut for the Horizon View client right there, but we're not going to use the full Horizon client. What we are going to do is we are going to open up a browser, and we are going to connect to cs-1.nuglab.local. And that URL is the URL for the connection server. And if we did connect just to HTTP to that URL, when we hit that URL, it'll redirect us to HTTPS for security. And in your lab environment, if you're using a self-signed certificate on that connection server, this is going to give you a certificate warning that you'll have to agree to and continue on with. So if Bob did want to install the Horizon View client, he could click right here, and that would lead him to the download so he could download and install the software. Or in our case, because we want to test the HTML access, we can simply click over here to select VMware Horizon HTML access. So we'll click here. It's going to ask us to authenticate, so we'll authenticate as Bob. We'll put in Bob's password, and we'll click sign in. And lo and behold, now we have two pools that are presented to Bob. Now, the question might be, why just these two? Well, these two pools happen to have HTML access enabled on the pools. The other ones that are not showing here are either because Bob is not entitled to use those pools or they're not enabled for HTML access. So if Bob wants to use a resource as part of the linked clone pool, he can simply go ahead and click on that option. If Bob has already been assigned a virtual machine, he'll be reconnected to that virtual machine. And sure enough, this light blue background is Bob's customized desktop for his virtual machine. And the cool thing, this entire experience is using HTML. And one cool example of how flexible we can be with our Horizon View environments is if we click on the Windows icon and we launch Notepad+, which we could deploy using linked clones to all of our virtual machines. So we'll launch Notepad+. And we'll minimize it a little bit. So here it is sitting and running. And let's do this. Let's go ahead and disconnect, but we won't log off. We'll just disconnect this remote session. So to do that, we'll go ahead and click on this little down arrow. We'll select our username in the drop down there, and we'll say disconnect. It says, are you sure you want to disconnect? We'll say yes. Now for the pool is set up to automatically log a user off after 5 minutes after they disconnect. So we have about 5 minutes to reconnect if we want to and resume with that virtual machine in that same exact state with Notepad++ still running. And check this out. I'm going to go ahead and close the HTML option here. Let's go back and take a look at the full Horizon View client. We'll go to the connection server. Here's all of the pools, including our new linked clone pool. We'll select that. And that's going to reconnect Bob back to his virtual machine once again. And check this out. Here we have Notepad++ just where we left it. And one of the cool things is that the user experience is, as you can see, very, very similar. whether they're using the full-blown Horizon View client or whether they're going in via HTML5. So I'll go ahead and close Notepad, and from the Horizon View client, we'll select Options, and we'll disconnect and log off. And then we'll confirm that with an OK. In this nugget, we verified that HTML access was enabled on a pool, and that we can provide similar experience for our users with either the full Horizon client or by using HTML access. I have had a lot of fun in this nugget. I'm glad that you joined me for it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.